We're live. We're going live.
Hi there.
What up, fish people? Or football freaks, I guess we'll call it, whatever. Welcome to another Friday Night Lights. We got Bentley and Ed here. We're all ready to talk some serious football tonight. And tonight's subject is going to be the top 10 running backs of all time. I think this will bring some interesting banter. I think Ed picked out, what did you say, Ed? 14?
Yes, and there are some great players left, Hall of Famers that aren't on the list. We could just go all night is the problem. So
We'll see what happens.
I hated taking some of those off, but I hope Skipper gets here because he's the guy who pops my photos on the
you know
screen.
what? I don't think Skipper's going to be here. He said he sent us a text saying he's got a pounding headache.
Oh, no. Well, do you know how to share image?
I will give it my best effort, Ed.
Well, can you make me an Avid or whatever it is?
Yeah, let me see if we can do it. Can I do that or do I have to be in StreamYard from the, I think, hold on, let me see something.
I'm so sorry, folks. I didn't realize Skipper wasn't going to be here.
Well, we can still talk about it. We don't need pictures to talk about who you pick.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't need to do that.
Well,
so, but let me try something to see if I can help you out.
I could bring them up on my phone and just hold it. Let's see. I did spend a lot of time making these stinking things, but that's all right. That's okay. I can see how this looks. Can you
hold on, Ed? I'm trying to see. Trying to see about this adding you as an admin thing.
Okay. So Bentley, how's your day going?
Well, as a no longer member of the working world, it's been interesting.
Oh no, this just happened today or?
No, last week.
Oh gosh, well, I'm sorry. Was it by choice or by not choice?
Not by choice.
Oh, well, that even sucks even worse. I'm sorry, buddy.
No, I would not have left my my job if they gave me a choice to stay.
Yeah, well, they're the ones that are gonna hate life now, Bentley.
Probably.
I mean, yeah.
But that's the unfortunate part of the corporate tech world. It's quite ruthless.
Well, we can just talk about the guys, and I have it on my other screen so I can pop or say the stats too. So,
okay.
I mean, we don't have to look at their picture.
Let's do that because I probably take me half the night to figure out how to get you as an admin on here.
It's all good.
So let's roll through our hellos and then let's get started.
Yeah.
So first in tonight was Miss Patty's Petite Tanks. What's going on? Collaboration of Curiosities. Good to see you, Del. Jimmy P in the house. What's going on, Jimmy? Sketty Nona, good to see you. Whips World, welcome. Travis Myers, Skull. We gotta have a Vikings fan in the house. Absolutely. At least I don't feel outnumbered that way. And we got Whips World. What's up, brother? Tampa Tom, good to see you. TJ, good to see you. Mr. Griff, good to see you. And I think I'm at the end. All right.
Now, Jimmy P, would you like talking football? You could come up and take Skipper's spot if you want. He knows his baseball. I know that for sure.
Yeah, I can't believe you conned me into a baseball league, man. I have no idea who to play, not to play. All I'm doing is getting rid of my injured players and throwing a different pitcher in if the one sucked and hope that sooner or later I land gold.
Oh, wow. Well, that's great. I still haven't gotten a hold of Paul to make him a co-commissioner with you. Normally, I see Paul on Skipper's shows on Thursday nights, But 2 weeks ago, he had to go pick up his brother and at the airport. And then this week, Skipper didn't have his stream. So we didn't do it. Well, I mean, we can start doing the voting and just go with the 4 or the 3 of us right now, plus the crowd. If
That works.
Jimmy said link. Do you want me to send him a link?
That's fine if you have it.
I can go to Facebook and I'll just share my link to him. Okay. Oh, now Baby Cat's jumping up here.
Meow.
Oh, don't push a button. She didn't. Thank goodness. Okay. It always freaks me out, Bentley.
My dog just barks out
and
the window.
That's okay. Do you ever put goggles on him?
On my dog?
Yeah.
No.
I saw somebody putting goggles on their dog as it was looking out the window, and it looked really cool. It was just awesome seeing goggles. I think just goggles are cool in general, but when you see them on other than just humans, it's really cool. Just saying.
All right, then.
Okay, so I sent a link out to Jimmy on Facebook. So as soon as we get Jimmy, we'll get right into it. Now, this isn't in any particular order, and so I kind of just randomly wrote them all on a piece of paper in different spots, so that way we wouldn't like get cued into who the opinions of other people's for who's the number one, because we want our opinions, because that's all that matters.
AP show's over. Done. Okay, see you guys.
Not even close.
Awesome. So as soon as Jimmy's up here, right now I see his little wheel spinning. We'll go to the first guy. Awesome. We're talking about guys with goggles.
I always wear these, Ed.
Well, they look cool.
First of all, Bentley, it's nice to meet you on a panel. This is the first time.
Howdy.
And I'm not going to say I'm sorry about your employment situation, because you're going to have something even
My headset
bigger.
literally just died. One sec, fellas.
Oh, no. Oh, Austin.
Hey guys.
Hi, Austin.
Hey,
You're
buddy.
going to move on to bigger and better things, Bentley. And I'm right here to kick you in the pants to make you do it, okay?
All right.
Okay, so did you want me to bring up a photo that I made of the player? Like on the screen, since I can't really, we were, instead of sharing it, because we normally do it through Skipper.
And while I
First
have a
one.
moment,
Yes.
I want to remind Kenny that the Vikes were one of my favorite teams as a kid, because they were on television a lot back in those days. And I saw a lot of the Vikings.
Oh, yeah.
Who's
So-
your favorite now?
I don't have a favorite now.
Oh, wow.
I don't. I really don't. I've been searching since the Rams moved back to LA. Because I lived in St. Louis, right?
If anybody's got Whip, Whip's
Well-
talking crap already. AP absolutely should be in the top 10. What are you talking about?
Here we go.
Now,
We're
Kenny,
starting with a Ram right off the bat. And a Los Angeles Ram.
Eric
Dickerson.
Mm,
Oh,
coming
well,
in
if he's
hot.
on there, somebody else better be on there. But okay, go ahead.
There,
these are the top. Well, and it's really hard because I went to several lists. They're all different.
Oh, I
And
know.
I'll be honest. I left Bo Jackson off because he didn't play enough games. So that's I kind
I
of
would
tried to
agree
look
with
for
that.
milestones.
I would agree
So-
with that.
I think Eric Dickerson should be talked about in the top 10. Absolutely. I mean,
He was
Well,
good.
He was one of the
Eric
best
Dickerson-
running backs of his era. I mean,
He was good
Yep,
when the team
third-
wasn't good.
it's just hard to be in the league the same time Walter Payton was playing. So that's probably why he got overshadowed, because Peyton was in while he was playing. So,
I agree with that too.
what do you
Yeah,
think,
he was-
Miss Shears?
Who?
Bentley's like, okay, he didn't say Kurt Warner, so I'm not talking yet.
Why would I care about Kurt Warner?
Hey,
So I think Dickerson's like Dickerson has the best rookie season of any running back in history. But other than that, like, yeah, he's all right.
let me look that up, Bentley.
No, he does. He has the most rushing yards and touchdowns as a running back rookie.
And how many games did they play that year? 14?
Right.
like
Or
16 or
12.
something, I want to say.
No, he
what-
played more than 12, Ed.
Okay.
Yeah, 12, you got to go way back. What are you
See,
talking about?
I just remember him
What
always
really
running out of
happens
bounds
with
because he didn't want to get tackled.
these- I know, that's true. You know what's really interesting about these all-time lists is it really is interesting. It's a debate that can go on forever. And the only thing that I like to bring into the whole equation is that the game has changed from decade to decade. And, well, you sure can't compare anybody in the last 10 years to the guys that played in the 70s and 80s. You just can't, because all the rules have changed, especially for quarterbacks and receivers. But running backs may be the one category that has not been affected by rule change as much as the other skilled positions have. But era does play into it for sure. As a old-time era guy.
That's
Come
why
on, you gotta give me that.
I respect the running backs of today's age because of the juggernaut mentality and the throw first mentality that the league is now in. For a running back to truly
That's
stand
true.
out in nowadays, I mean it. Hence AP. Say no more.
Well, let me
What-
tell you
we-
something,
okay, let's-
Kenny. That guy was fantastic, no doubt about it. I can't argue with you about AP one bit.
Eric, but we're on Eric Dickerson. We still had Austin and Bentley and Ed to give their opinions on him.
I know. You're going to regret inviting me because I do know about football. Ed, it's not. I know all the sports. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll talk any sport you want. But go ahead, take it away, Austin.
Well, I mean, kind
I'm
of Bentley
sorry.
there said, I know, like when Eric first started, I mean, the dude just came in guns a blazing. Like I think he was like just shy of like 2,000 yards his first year in the league, and I want to say his second one he actually hit 2,000. Might have been his only one there. Might have had 2 seasons where he hit 2,000. Overall, he was a very solid back there. And when you talk about the Rams there, I mean, they've had some pretty good running backs in their time. When you talk about Dickerson and, of course, Marshall Falk being another one. I know some people would say Steven Jackson. To me, he's just kind of But I
Right.
guess, are we doing like the number rating with them again, like we did with quarterbacks a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, 1 through 10,
Mhm.
5 average, 10 is the best, 1 is the lowest.
All right. He started off really good. I think towards the end, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he fizzled a little bit. He was still good, but I'll give him a 6.
Okay. And what did Jimmy give him?
Just rate 1 to 10.
Yep.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
But not 1 to 10 in our 1 to 10 ranking, right? Or is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. You can use the same number every time if you want. You can make everybody a 5.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I'll tell you. His second year, I just looked it up. He averaged 131 yards a game his second year, which is pretty darn good. I would give him I'd give him a 7.
Wow. And what did Austin? I'm sorry, Austin. I wrote your number in mine, I think. 6. Okay. And then Bentley, you were saying that he had the amazing rookie year, which he did, and it was under 16 games. So I was way off. 83 was his rookie year.
Yeah,
I thought he was.
that surprised me
I thought
too.
he started in like 78 or something, or a little bit farther.
Gosh, I was still single in '83.
Oh wow!
Uh,
I think I was in kindergarten. No, first.
Oh,
grade.
shut up! Be quiet.
it's going to be hard to walk up a list of like top 10 running backs without giving them all fairly high ratings. But
Yes.
I think if you look at like the longevity of Dickerson's career, and it's like he had this amazing start. You know, he has probably the best 2 opening seasons for a running back in NFL history. He flames out pretty hard though. And in that respect, I would say I'm kind of with Austin. I'm going to go 6.
I'm giving him a
Okay.
7.
I see Craig up there too, and yes, Craig, I am a sports writer. At least for
I'm a
now.
harsh critic.
I'm giving him a 4 because I remember watching him as a
wow.
kid, and he was a
Bam.
pansy running out of bounds all the time. I believe in you go for every yard you can, and I thought he was a pansy.
Oh my
So,
God,
give him a
Ed!
4.
Oh,
Wow.
if that's the case, then the greatest running back of all time is not going to be on your top 10 list.
And so
Maybe
it
not.
begins.
No, honestly, I think he
The
was
next
the
time
biggest.
I see him, Ed, I'm going to tell him you said that.
He's probably in a wheelchair, but
Oh my God!
nothing personal against wheelchair people. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Okay,
Ed, what has happened
yeah.
to you?
there's just some
Hashtag
players I don't care
uncensored
for,
Ed.
and he's one of them. Don't like Eric Dickerson.
Join
Okay,
us every Friday night for Uncensored Ed, brought to you on ASC.
Wow.
So we got our first bid from the crowd, and Whips World says 7 as well for Dickerson.
oh, okay. So
So we were
let's
all
see,
6 and 7s pretty much.
and my
Except
4.
Except Ed.
Yeah, except Ed.
So he scored a
But he's the guy
37.
that also gave Brady a 1, so how can we even count it?
Exactly. Okay, the next one was one of the best offensive lines ever, and he was a darn good running back. Emmett Smith.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Emmett Smith. I mean, you might not like him, but he was good, really good. 1,800 yards over his career, averaged 4.2 yards a carry, 164 touchdowns rushing, and 11 receiving, and 3,224 yards of receiving also to top it off. So he went over 20,000 yards. And I'll just start it off. I'm going to give him a 7. I think he's one of the best. But I'll give him an 8 just because of his resume. He's got a few rings on those fingers too. I should have given him an 8 too. I'm going to change mine to an 8 because he really is good.
Whoa, Bentley! Really?
I'm talking about rings.
Oh,
This
I
guy-
thought you were giving him a 4. I was like, what?
Oh,
I was thinking the same thing, like, Bentley, dang, we thought Ed was spicy a moment ago.
Man.
Bentley, it's okay.
You're talking about one of the few non-Seahawks that as a kid I owned a jersey for.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's saying something. That's saying something.
Emmitt Smith
yeah.
is the all-time running back leader for rushing yards, touchdowns, carries. That dude did 1,000 sit-ups, 1,000 push-ups a day
He was
as a
stud.
part of his workout routine. That
And there's
dude
an 8
is
from the
an
crowd too, guys.
animal.
Skull just said 8.
If we were going, so like my honest top 3 running backs list includes Emmitt Smith. So for me, he's a strong 9.
Wow.
Wow.
Very nice.
Okay.
Can't
You
disagree.
made a good case for that, man.
Very good case, yeah.
Okay. Well, would you like to go, Jimmy?
Sure. Man, Bentley, man, I think he changed my vote. You could go into public relations for the Dallas Cowboys, Bentley.
Oh no, I could not. I don't know that there's enough money in the world for me to do that.
Oh, that guy will hire
Maybe
anybody
Seahawks.
down there.
I don't think I can handle Jerry's world.
Oh, well, that's true.
That is a different
Oh
world
my God,
indeed.
what a piece of work! I'll give him a 9 too, and I don't need to really add anything to what Bentley said. Those numbers and the career that he had and the legacy that he left behind, he definitely has set the benchmark in Dallas for running backs, and I can't see anybody surpassing him anytime soon down there. So I'll give him a solid 9.
Kiss ass.
Okay, what do you say, Austin?
I almost want to give him a 9. I would definitely say, well, here's the thing. The dude ran for over 1,000 yards, I want to say like 12, 13 seasons in a row there. I mean, kind of as Bentley was saying there. I mean, this
Longevity's
dude,
amazing too.
I mean, he was, I obviously was, I can't remember the full years right now. I'm blanking on when he played, but at the same time, I know enough to know that he was kind of like old reliable. You knew each season he was going to produce and be a big part of the offense's success. And really in a running back, that's kind of one of the main things you want, is you want a guy that helps engine the offense forward. And not many running backs did that better than Emmitt Smith. The only reason how come I'm not going to give him a 9 is because I presume of some of the running backs that we got coming on down the road here. But I am still going to give him a very high 8.
Okay.
And
Let's see.
The one thing I want to bring to everybody's attention too, with these running backs we're talking about now, back in those days, it was more common to leave the same running back in most of the game. Where nowadays it's more of a 1-2 punch. So keep
Or
that
a
in
full
mind when we're
committee.
talking numbers. But
And to go to what Austin was saying with a quick look up, 11 years in a row of over 1,000 yards rushing.
Okay, so I overshot it a little bit, but still, yeah, over a decade. That's nuts.
3 Super
That
Bowls,
is.
1 NFL MVP, 1 Super Bowl MVP, Offensive Rookie of the Year, multiple All Pros, multiple Pro Bowls.
and a
Dude
Hall of
is
Famer.
an
And a
animal.
Hall of
He was
Famer.
damn good.
Yep. I agree. I think he's amazing. Okay, what first number that pops up from the people?
It was 8 from Skull was the first.
An 8?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Well, he scored a solid 50.
Not
So
bad.
just to compare Dickerson versus Emmett, I think we would all say that Emmett is one of the best of all time, and
Agreed.
Dickerson is just one of the best.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I think that's really fair. I mean, I took this from 2 different lists off of YouTube or not YouTube, from Google. I did oh my gosh, I can't speak. Bleacher Report and the Google Select. So last time we just went for Google, and a lot of people hated their opinions. So I did a little bit of a split with them, but both of them had Emmett in the top 4, I'll say. And both of them had Eric Dickerson at 10, if that helps you guys, just as a starter. Okay.
Something
Now-
I also kind of look at too is like, if we did
That Ryan, take that right now, buddy.
Oh no!
Oh, I knew
I remember-
knew somebody would be the jerk to bring up how they acquired Emmitt Smith. And it's because the Vikings' generosity with the boatload of picks we gave away for Herschel Walker. Yes, I'm well aware of it there, Ryan.
Herschel Walker also did 1,000 sit-ups and push-ups a day.
He was the
That was quite a trade.
There was nothing
I
good
honestly
about it.
think that was Denny Green's fault more than Herschel Walker, though.
And
Because
yes,
Denny
Ryan,
Green
I'm
did
more,
committee.
more than aware that yes, he still holds the record for running back for the longest run from scrimmage. And who was it against? My Minnesota Vikings. And yes, I watched it live. So now that we got the Viking slams out, let's keep it going.
This guy, he played the Vikings a few times, probably, but he's not Herschel Walker. Jim Brown.
Ooh, man. Throwback.
The amazing Jim Brown. One of the Dirty Dozen.
This one's very easy for me.
At the time, he averaged over 5 yards a carry, 5.2 yards a carry, 106 touchdowns, 12,312 yards, and 20 receiving touchdowns. He was the man at the time, and
in an era when
dominated,
when stiff arming and face masks and all that good stuff were still pretty legal. Clotheslining, they didn't care. There wasn't much rules. It was right between WWE and football back in those days. So for him to put up the numbers that he put up in that era, when there really wasn't any rules, it's get them down any way you see fit, minus stabbing or shooting, I got to give the guy a 10. And that's just because of the era he was brought up. And if you ever go back and watch the history of football, the guys that said they had to tackle him still have nightmares to this day over trying to tackle that guy. So if I'm building a football team, absolutely, I would want Jim Brown on it.
well, good choice of 10.
Yeah.
Okay, should I go? I'll go.
Go ahead, Ed.
I'm going to give him a 9 only because he retired early to do movies. I mean, he was awesome when he retired, and it bugs me. So, yeah, I'm going to give him a 9 because I think he's deserves to be among the very, 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 very elites. Okay, and I'll throw it over to you, Bentley.
Oh, it's my turn. In the sage wisdom words of a joke that came from the great Richard Pryor when he explained some of his problems with a certain nose candy and his confrontation with one said, Jim Brown, what you gonna do?
Wow.
Jim Brown. Okay, my favorite running back of all time is going to be on this list later. He retired early as well at the height of his career, modeled after the great Jim Brown.
We all know who your favorite is. It is definitely the guy that played in a Detroit uniform, I'm sure.
Oh, how could you play the juice wrong like that?
And he had initials BS. Fitting.
Come on, guys, let's just go with James
How
Brown
dare
right
you.
now.
How dare you.
Billy Smith. Billy Smith, great guy.
Jim Brown's one of those few that even in a modern era would have been a ludicrous running back.
Yeah.
The guy played, as was well said, when basically outside of being shot or stabbed, it was legal and was nigh untouchable in that era. Was easily among the true
on the guy,
greatest of all time.
If you had
look at that helmet he wore
coming from midfield, he would run to the midfield just so he could run him over. That was his mentality. I mean, the guy was an animal.
It's if you had a Mount Rushmore of running backs, Jim Brown is on it.
Absolutely.
And normally, I believe there are no 10s. However, I love running back. And this is where I kind of break rules. Jim Brown's a 10.
Bam.
All day.
So he's got 3 10s already, Ed, because the first person in chat said 10.
Okay. And, that's maybe what we should do is maybe we should change it to who is on the Mount Rushmore of running backs. And we'll figure out who the 4 best are out of this. That's I really like that idea. But okay, Jimmy
That's easy
P.
All right. I don't even have to
It
look up the
probably is.
numbers. I don't have to look up the numbers on Jim Brown because he was one of my heroes growing up. He retired when I was just a young lad. I remember seeing him on TV maybe once or twice. However, what Kenny said is true. That era was, my goodness, it makes football today look like a Girl Scout cookie stand. Okay, I mean, it's he ran a 4.540 in full pads out of a 3-point stance. Now,
and weighing at the time probably 250 plus pounds.
he was like, I think he was 240, Kenny. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was a big boy.
And that's and that's with a stopwatch, so you could argue whether it was slower or faster, but whatever. He only played 9 years. Ed Wright. He only played 9. He retired in 1966 to go into acting. He more than half of his career was only 12 games. The other 3 or 4 years that he played were 14, and he ended up with over 12,000 yards in 9 seasons. So. And he led the league in rushing 8 out of the 9 seasons that he played. So that meant that he was dominating the era that he played in. So easily he's a 10 from me as well. And a total beast. I mean, I wouldn't even want to. Well, yeah, I would. I'd like to see what would happen if he were playing now in his prime. I would.
All right, Austin.
I mean, Jimmy, you kind of went on my next point there. I mean, something that I do kind of look at with these running backs that played like 20 or so years ago is I also look at, I mean, because of course, as we all know, as we said earlier, the rules are very different now. So how much would they dominate in this time of day? I would think Jim Brown and Emmitt Smith, as we mentioned earlier, would absolutely take the roof off any building they would stand in when it comes to running back performance. As you also said there, I mean, the dude led the league all but 3 of his years playing in the NFL. And I want to say all but 2 of his years, the dude had like 1,200 rush yards. So, I mean, the dude was just a workhorse. The only reason how come I will not give a 10, though, is because a shorter career compared to some other guys we're talking about. But with that, he still gets a 9.
Wow, you gave him a 9. He didn't get the perfect score. I gave him a 10 also because I think every running back wants to be him.
Wow, that's the highest score of the night, 59.
I think that's 69.
Oh, I forget. But
So-
no, it's
And then Whip
59.
says
There's
10,
only,
Cole says 9.
Ed's just adding 10 for posterity's sake.
I guess. Ed's
Well,
math
wait.
skills.
Okay, I've got Ed, Jimmy,
5
Kenny.
10s and a 9. I don't care how you
Austin.
break it down. It's 59.
Well, we have 6 people voting.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
5 10s and a 9.
oh yeah. All right, I can't say that word. I'm not supposed to say that word.
Woo!
I'm mentally handicapped.
I'm supposed to be the one that flubs things up. I'm the one drinking.
Oh, speaking of drinking,
Oh, I didn't know we could
are
drink.
we are not sponsored by Budweiser, so drink anything else. Okay, that's all I wanted to say today.
There we go.
Next,
Enough said.
number.
Math is hard, Stephen P.
I'm trying to find my. Oh, I guess I don't have to find. I was setting it up for Skipper, and he's not here. The next one is Marcus Allen. Marcus Allen. 12,243 yards, averaged 4.1 yards a carry, had 123 touchdowns, 21 extra from receiving. He also had 5,411 receiving yards. A dual threat, crazy guy.
Let me tell you about
Okay.
Marcus Allen, though, that I think that those numbers are badly skewed. He got benched by his head coach just out of spite for, what was it, 2 years before they finally gave him a break and traded him to the Chiefs. It allowed him to restart his NFL career. He got, because he asked for a pay raise, benched for 2 solid years of his career and still put those kind of numbers up.
He had Bo Jackson ahead of him.
All that aside, I think that the guy would have even been better if he had a chance to play. He got 2 of his most prime years taken from him. I just remember the first time, the way he would start off at an end around and then see it wasn't going to happen, reverse angle and go up the whole opposite end of the field, run for a touch. You never knew what the guy was going to pull. I enjoyed watching Marcus Allen run. I will give him a solid 8.
Okay, me? I was mad when the Chiefs got him because I thought he was done, and he actually had some left in the tank and did us really proud. I never saw a guy, every time we needed 1 yard, he got it. It was unbelievable how he could dive through the line and make sure that we got our first down or our gold line touchdown. And he was a skilled guy, and I really like him a lot. I was glad he was a Chief, and I'm going to give him a 6. And the reason why I'm giving him a 6 isn't because I think he's bad, but it's because I think he's slightly above, just a hair better than the average top 10 guy. I think he's a super athlete, but I don't think he's in the top tier. But that's just me. But I love him, and I would love to have him, a clone of him again on the Chiefs. Or anywhere in the league to watch. He was awesome. Okay. Bentley, take her away.
Oh, I've seen Kenny be quite upset, and Marcus Allen is a phenomenal talent. If Bo Jackson didn't blow his hip out, Bo Jackson would have been better.
Bo Jackson probably be maybe at the top.
Bo Jackson's a freak, natural human freak athlete. That being said, after all the BS with Al Davis, when he went to the Chiefs, he still continued to perform. Yep. After he originally was benched due to a knee injury, right? Because he had several years where he's injured or several years of Bo Jackson's play, but it started with his Marcus Allen's knee injury. And then he got relegated to backup duty while Bo Jackson was on the Raiders. But despite that time where he's not at the forefront, he still was a phenomenal running back. And I think if you look at the breadth of his career and his performance across the entirety of his career, there's no way you could rate him like similar to Eric Dickerson because he didn't have the performance slump. So I would give him a 7.
Well, I gave Eric a 4. So, yeah, I think we're still in the same lines. Nice. Okay. Jimmy P.
Yeah, again, everything Bentley said. I'm glad you're going ahead of me, Bentley, because you saved me a lot of talking. Yeah, I can't disagree with anything that Bentley said about Marcus. And gosh,
man, I tell you what, it's fitting where we got Jimmy sitting tonight because he's so far up Bentley's ass. At least he's below it right now, too.
You know what, Kenny? Oh my God! I'll send you a text.
Walker's next on the list, isn't he?
I'll just skip all the crap because Kenny threw me off my game anyway, and I'll give him a 7 as well.
Oh, don't get mad, Jimmy.
Oh, come on. Hey, a side note. I got Marcus's autograph from my stepson. That's his favorite player. He's a 40-year-old man.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's a big baby when it comes to the Raiders. And I have a few connections and got the autograph for him.
Speaking of which, you know what, guys? While we're waiting for us to talk Austin, we need somebody from the chat to pipe in what they think he should be as far as a number. So
Yeah. Ryan should have a good opinion since he's the best Raider to ever play for them.
Oh my God. Hey, the Raiders are another team I grew up with, Ed. Come on now. The games were only on NBC and CBS when I was a kid. So I saw basically 2 games a week. And I saw a lot of the Vikings and the Cowboys and the Raiders, Baltimore Colts. I could go on, but I saw a pretty small group of teams that they put on quite a bit back then. And of course, the St. Louis Cardinals at that time, they sucked ass. So who cared about them, right?
Unfortunately.
So Austin, what are you thinking, man?
Well, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, BS aside or not, when you look at his stats compared to some of the other running backs, I mean, there's obviously some differences. Granted, the dude, I think in his first 5 years, whatever the heck it was, still gave some pretty good rushing stats. Still, I think out of almost about, I want to say the dude played for about 15 years, give or take. Only ran over 1,000 yards though 3 times, and in case people haven't been able to tell, 1,000 yards, if you can consistently run over that, then to me, that's kind of one of the things of, at least for me, where it's like, okay, they can run the ball consistently. Obviously, pass catching is another element that's great to have too. But in terms of the 1,000 yards, I think he only got it 3 times in his, like I say, I think give or take about 15-year career. But he was still good because he was a good pass catcher, thus the dual threat, as I think either Kenny or Ed said. I'm kind of floating between a 6 or a 7, but since 7 has been the common one, I'll go up to 7 because, of course, the dude played a little bit before my time too. So maybe
that's what the chat's saying as well, Ed. Whip saying 7.
So he's a little before my time, so maybe I'm a little uneducated too.
Is it bad if I've
43?
Seen I think it's bad when I've seen most of these guys play.
I mean, I could say something, but I won't.
Yeah.
Okay. The next player.
Is that the,
Our next player. I don't know if you guys are hip on him or not, but Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders.
Okay, let's just skip the theatrics. Is there anybody in the room that would give him less than a 10? Obviously. I know I wouldn't.
I'm giving him a 10. I think that Barry Sanders, I mean, we talk about Emmitt Smith being in the top 3. Barry is, for me, the guy.
I mean, number 1. People want to talk of tree trunks for legs. That guy many times would move. You'd see the pile move, and then you'd see a pile move rapidly, and that was Barry Sanders. If you could even get your hands on the guy. He made so many defensive people look stupid in his career. I mean, you talk about, what do they call it, tripping, or where a guy in basketball where he gets juked or whatever. They got a term for it. I don't remember what it is. Ankle breaking, thank you. Wow. I mean, but the thing that was amazing about him that I think really built to his solid career, the guy could go from a complete stop and then back to full speed, and it seemed like it was just in an instant. And he could side you. I mean, again, he just made so many defensive people look stupid in his career. And I truly believe had the guy got a full career, he would have every record in the book. End of story.
And he made defensive players, as you said, look stupid. And he didn't even have that great of an offensive line for most of his career.
He had no line, really. I mean,
he was the offense. If he didn't play well, the Lions didn't do well in general. He was the offense.
I'd be willing to bet that most of his contact was initially made behind the line. I would be honest to God think that with Barry. I mean, he got
his yards after contact had to be ridiculous.
Insane.
Yeah, he's the GOAT. Honestly, if I could, I'd give him a 12.
So, and you talk about a guy in today's rules, in today's offensive powerhouse lines they have. I mean, you put him behind Emmett's line. Somebody made mention of it earlier in the chat.
Oh, that dude's running for 2,500 yards, not just
Yeah,
2,000.
I think it would have been ugly. Not to take anything from Emmett, but I believe if Barry would have had Emmett's offensive line.
First T-shirt I ever bought was a Barry Sanders T-shirt. I think I was like 12. The first time I spent cash for a piece of material, for clothing.
And the other thing that people forget about him too is he was an amazing person off the field too. He was an all-around good. Anyway, I could talk all night about Barry Sanders. He is one of my top 3 as well. So,
well, I'm just going to mention one play that every time I loved watching him play. He was amazing. But there was a time he played the Bears, and Richard Dent grabbed him and flipped him in the air. And I kind of went, because I thought he was going to die, but he spun in the air and landed on his feet and kept running. It's the most insane play I've ever seen in football. So I'm giving him a 10. Nobody made me enjoy football more than Barry Sanders. All right, Bentley, you're wearing a Sanders
and for the first time tonight, he got 3 10s in a row in the chat.
I don't really have to say anything. You guys have said plenty.
I mean,
earlier, he's got to have something.
Sanders is my favorite running back of all time. And a lot of it spans back to when I was a kid, when the Seahawks were in their era of absolute garbage.
Yeah.
The other thing that I there were 2 players I love to watch the most. Barry Sanders was number 1. I would try to watch with my dad Detroit Lions football games, even though they were a garbage team like my Seahawks. The difference is they had Barry fucking Sanders. That guy is... I am fairly confident he could have played in any era of football because not only was he tough, maybe not like Jim Brown, try to run people over tough, but he could take hits and evade and evade and evade. Some of the best defenders of all time and some of the best defenses of all time, Barry Sanders made look childish at best. That guy is an absolute goat.
And anybody that thinks he wasn't a power back, you better second guess that too. The guy had ginormous tree trunk legs, and if you tried to think you were going to go one-on-one and tackle him, you were sadly mistaken. He'd make you look foolish. If he didn't juke you, he'd run you over. So we already that's our first perfect score of the night.
Yep.
Look at those shoulder pads.
Yeah,
baby.
Well, Jimmy and Austin, did you guys want to weigh in on him? Or are we just going to move on to the next guy?
Same. I already said my piece on Barry.
Yeah, it's a 10 for me. I mean, he his career was 89 to 98. He was the best running back of the 90s, and nothing. That's hands down all day long. It's Barry.
That is a good description of him right there. I love Barry Sanders, a human pinball.
That's a good. And yep, I said Barry was a 10 for sure. And if I could go off the chart with anybody, this would be the guy. I'd give Barry a 12.
Well, here's another great guy that everybody loves. Oh, what were you going to say, Jimmy?
I don't blame him for retiring while he was still a healthy young man. That's it.
Much like Megatron did back in the day.
When you play for a horrible team, it's just a bummer. But here's another guy that everybody loves, O.J. Simpson.
Oh, boy.
O.J. Simpson.
Boy,
11,236 yards, 4.7 yards rushing, 61 touchdowns, 2,142 receiving, and 14 touchdowns. Okay, take it away, Kenny.
As a human being, I rate him a 1. Okay, But if
I
we're
think you're being
right-
generous.
I'm
you're being
assuming.
generous.
Hold on, hear me out.
A 1.
We're assuming we're going to assume what they were on the field, correct? Or are we bringing personal life into it? Or are we talking
No.
strictly how they were on the
No,
field?
it's football.
we're-
Yeah, that's football.
Yeah,
football
we're-
only.
Okay, for that reason, I'll give them a 4.5.
Okay. I'm gonna say he was awesome running through airports when I was a kid watching those commercials. So I'm gonna give him a solid 5.
He ran on those highways pretty well too.
Okay, it's all up to you, Bentley.
Can't wait for this.
The juice.
Miami's got the oranges, but Buffalo's got the juice.
Orenthal.
That was
Julius
the saying back then.
Simpson. Yeah, I mean we have to separate psycho from football player, and that's the unfortunate part. There were a few. I think if you looked at like players who had great charisma, he's one of the early ones too. But you get a number of great stats. He's nowhere near some of the other greats on the list, but he's certainly better than like Dickerson, and I would even say he's probably a touch higher than Marcus Allen, but I won't rate him higher than a 7 because he doesn't have like some of those insane stats. Like you don't look at him like you do Emmett or like you do Jim Brown or like you do Barry Sanders. You just look at him and go like, yeah, he was very good, but he's not the greatest. He's just very good.
Okay, Jimmy, what's your number?
Okay.
Oh, you Did
I'm
you
going to
give
make
him-
this real short and sweet.
Okay.
I don't think he even belongs in this discussion, number 1. And number 2,
Wow.
I will give him a 4. And I don't even have to explain it. I just think he was a guy. He really was. I mean, I watched him all the time. And I wasn't impressed with him other than he had the one breakout year and they gave him the ball 400 times. And, and he had a hell of a fullback blocking for him. And that, that he kind of made his mark with the 2003 yards, right? He did.
It's pretty funny in those Leslie Nielsen
Did
movies.
OJ do 2,000 yards? I don't think OJ ever did 2,000 yards
I
in
don't
his
think so
career.
either.
73. He had 2003 yards.
I just
he
said
really?
2003 yards.
Jimmy's
Thank
got
you,
the number.
Bentley.
He averaged 4.7 yards per carry, and he only had 61 career touchdowns, with 73 and 75 making up 28 of those 61 touchdowns.
That was
What
the
did Bentley score
landmark.
him?
That was what his career was based on, Kenny, was the 2003 yards. He really wasn't known for anything else until he,
And that's why I'd say it's similar to Dickerson a little bit in the sense that he really has like these 2 gangbusters years that really boost his stats up. Now, granted, he's playing in a significantly harsher era of play than Dickerson because there's a few safety rules that come in by the time you hit the early 80s when Dickerson starts playing. Not many, mind you, but 70s football is
oh, yeah.
that's some special stuff right there.
Just watch the old films. Yep.
So what was your score for him, Bentley?
7.
7.
Well, I would.
Okay, and Austin.
I gave him a 4. I took a knife to the guy. Oh, wait.
That's all right. The glove didn't fit. You're fine.
Oh, there we go. I mean, kind of Jimmy and I think even Bentley kind of went into. I mean, he was, more was what Bentley said. He was good, but really compared to like these other guys like Jim Brown or Emmett Smith or Barry Sanders, when you look at his stats, you'd be like, yeah, he's good, but there's not that thing that makes you just go, wow. I mean, there's nothing there that really just makes you think like, wow, he really was really freaking good. I mean, you're like, yeah, he was a good running back. I'd give him a 5. I think he's good, but in terms of what up there with the greats and such, I don't even know. I mean, if I looked at an extensive list of some of the greatest running backs in the NFL, I'd question, would he really even be top 10? Or top
Sure.
15 even.
And did we have a crowd pick?
I think I saw a 7 earlier or 6.
I see an 8.
Really? Wow.
Yep, I
Okay.
see an
Wow.
8.
Crowd's generous tonight.
Me.
Well, that 8 brings him up to a 28.
Whoa.
He is the least running back
I
on
believe
the list thus far.
I believe he is 31 behind Barry all day long as far as points. Absolutely.
Oh, hands down.
Okay. Well, here's a guy that a lot of people like. I keep saying that for every single person.
But one of them was in sarcasm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Sweetness, Walter
Mm.
Payton.
Yeah,
The
well,
I
guy
mean,
who
come
never
on.
drank any alcohol and died of liver cancer.
This guy's another one. Do we really even need to talk?
I say, do we just all want to say it at the same time here?
10.
10.
Yep. I would
What
give
I-
him a 10.
Give him a
What
I'm
I
not gonna
used
give him
to,
a 10.
and what I remember, and I have seen Walter Payton play in person. The guy was phenomenal. When he'd start high stepping it, I mean, there was nothing. I almost was literally feeling sorry for the defensive backs because I could not imagine if you're like 5'11" ish and about 180 having to tackle that man because it wasn't going to happen. He was probably a little more of a physical back than Barry Sanders. He was a different type of a back. And he is another one that was in my top 3. And I would give him a 10. And again, his off the field antics were beyond. I mean, he was a class act on the field and he was a class act off the field. And Mike Ditka, if you're listening, you're a cocksucker for not letting him run a touchdown in at the only Super Bowl he was ever in. Shame on you, you son of a bitch. That's all. 10.
Walter Payton was a great guy and a great player, and I really like him a lot. But when he played, he didn't awe me like Barry. So I'm going to give him a 9. I mean, and he was such a nice guy. Like, my buddy was doing a commercial with him for Hubba Bubba. And he was so nice to my buddy who doesn't know anything about football, you know, and like was very generous and nice to him and stuff. And so, yeah, and I know a lot of people love him. So I'm just not going to give him a 10 because I wouldn't buy a ticket just to watch him. I would buy a ticket to watch Barry.
Wow.
Okay, that's it.
Wow, Ed. Woo.
My.
I don't know.
So,
Bullshit.
Bentley,
Bullshit.
what did you score?
Okay. So I think one of the crimes of fate is Walter Payton's career being cut so short. I have gone back many times and watched players before my time to understand why they're in the accolades they are. Just watch Walter Payton play. I said earlier that my top 3 running backs, and the only reason why Payton's not in there is because the unfortunate travesty that is how short his career is. But if you had a Mount Rushmore, Payton's on it.
Oh, yeah.
And if you look at how he played, had he not, for health, had to cut his career short, I don't know how much more difficult the conversation for the greatest running back of all time would become. Because honestly, his talent was ridiculous. And if you just look at what he could do, there's a great thing from Whip's World in chat. He caught the ball, he ran the ball, he could throw the ball, he could block. The guy could do everything you would ask from any position player despite the fact that he was a running back. The man's a 10. I'm sorry. Man's a 10.
Mm-hmm.
There is a Man of the Year award named after him to honor how incredible a person he was outside of his raw physical capability.
Fair. Now, he actually had 4,000 more all-purpose yards than Barry. And looks like he had 16 more touchdowns than Barry, all-purpose touchdowns. But he only averaged 4.4 yards a carry versus Barry's 5. But I think he's a model that every high school kid should follow. But, yep. Okay. Go for it, Jimmy.
Yeah, well, being like I said about Jim Brown, I was too young to watch him. So Walter was easily the best running back that I had ever seen in my life up until that point. I think he was incredible. What can you say? Bentley said he went back and watched the old game films and whatnot. And if you do that, yeah, they put the best stuff up there, but sometimes the determination and willing to win was exemplified in a 5-yard run from Walter, because he may have run over a guy at the line of scrimmage to get the 5 yards. And that's basically how he played every day, every down, for every game of his career. And he gave it all he had. And I'll just throw in what Kenny said. I'd like to punch Mike Ditka right in the face for letting the fridge get a touchdown and pass up Walter. So he gets a 10 from me, hands down. No problem.
Okay, Austin?
All right. Yes, Walter Payton is great, but he was a Bear. So one. I'm kidding. I can't. I mean, even as a diehard Packer, I can't do Walter Payton like that. But I mean, the dude's a 10, and he's another one that if I could go off the charts, I would. The only reason how come I would still put Walter Payton behind Barry Sanders in terms of the all-time list is because Walter Payton had a little bit better blocking. And while, yes, Walter Payton was a do-it-all running back, any team would. I mean, he is a hot dream of anyone's idea of a running back. I mean, he is the perfect image of a running back, and frankly, a pretty good image of what a human being could be as well. But I would say, even if I went off the chart, I'd give him an 11. I mean, the dude was good. I mean, he's a big reason why the Bears even got to their only Super Bowl win ever. And I was obviously not around by 1985 at that point, so I would not have been able to witness that, thus have the anger for Coach Ditka. But I'd still be willing to join you guys for a punch in the face just because he was a Bears coach. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, and I said that about Walter. The Bears, I did not like the Bears at all. I didn't. But when Walter was playing, I was watching, and I wanted him to do what he did.
Walter gets
I loved the Bears back then.
I think I know the reason why Ed only gave him a 9. There's this phenomenal highlight if you go look it up. This is one of my favorite plays of Walter Payton's to watch, where he breaks 6 different tackles against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And literally zigzags back and forth across the field.
Oh,
It's incredible. If you haven't seen it, there's tons of shorts and stuff all over the internet for it. But it's like, I'm sorry. If you want to watch what that guy was capable of, just watch that one play and you'll be like, yeah, that guy's insane.
I remember that play, Bentley.
Probably there's highlights of every running back in the 80s doing that to the Chiefs. Pretty horrible. I rooted for the Bears quite a bit when I was a kid. I wore 50 because I loved Mike Singletary when I played football. So I agree. He's awesome. But okay. Next one up on the block. Marshall Faulk.
Ooh.
Marshall Faulk.
Wow. Nice.
All right.
That's a good one. In terms of like where he'd rank, I think he's a top 10. Where at in the top 10? I don't know, but
Well, keep going, Austin. You're going to have to pick it right now. You started
all right.
talking.
I mean, I don't know if he's on my running backs Mount Rushmore, but if he's not, he's one of the honorable mentions for sure. This guy was really good. I mean,
1,900 all-purpose yard or 19,000 all-purpose yards.
yeah, I mean, this dude could do. I mean, he was another one that not quite to the extremity of Walter Payton, but he could do quite a bit. I mean, he was part of one of the best offenses ever assembled too. I mean, he was a very big part of why that offense had success. I'm trying to remember what year that was. It was somewhere like mid or later 90s, I want to say. But
You're thinking
It was
99.
Mike Martz that
99,
ruined it.
yes. For some reason, I wanted to say
99.
97, but that didn't sound right. But, I mean, Marshall Falk, I'd give him an 8. I think he was really good. He was also one of the first running backs I saw, and he set a pretty high standard.
That is totally fair.
He's another one that I felt off the field was just as good as he was on the field. He was a class act inside and out, but I could only go as high as a 7.
Okay. Bentley, you want to go?
Well, now wait a minute. Wait a minute. What does that mean?
I
Kenny?
think we should. I think we
Jimmy,
should-
would
we
you
should-
like to go?
There we go. That's what I want to get to.
Go for it, Jimmy. You were saying
Yeah.
you were living in St. Louis when he was there.
What did Kenny say again? What did Kenny say?
A 7.
Yes, I was. I saw him play. I tell you, it's hard for me to be impartial when it comes to Marshall Falk. Wow. If I had one game that I needed to win, it would be a coin flip between him, Jim Brown, and Barry Sanders.
What?
And they all three were different type of runners.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
You're even higher.
Marshall
on him than I
Falk
am.
could do anything that you asked him to do.
That is true.
No,
Yeah.
the Rams would have won 2 Super Bowls. They lost against the Patriots because Marshall hardly touched the ball against the Patriots. And
Yeah, which was
that
more
was a
on.
big mistake.
But we had a bad
And,
coach at that time.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah. He didn't use
Mike
a very good
Martz is
game
the
plan
reason
that
why
day.
the trade
But anyway,
thing broke.
I'll give him a 9 only because I want to sound like I'm being fair. Okay.
Hey, Jimmy. Oh, whoops! I put you. No, wait.
Got a pair
I
of
put
6s
you-
in the chat, Chad. So 6 is from the chat.
Whipping skull, man.
Chat went from
Whipping
being
Scully,
quite
if you
generous
just-
to being brutal.
Yeah. If you would have seen that guy play, whoa, okay, all right. What the hell do you guys?
Do you
know?
want to have?
Who's up?
Do you want to go, Bentley?
Yeah, so Falk has like 3 of the best years in a row of any running back in history. From 99 to 2001, that guy was an absolute monster. And that was while my poor Seahawks, while not in the same division, were absolute trash. A dumpster fire of a team. And anytime I saw Marshall Falk run all over people, I would say to myself, why doesn't my team have that? However,
yeah.
I think outside of some bias,
Yeah.
negative bias on my side of being bitter, I don't know that he can quite compare to a few of the other backs. Because if you look at his career, he goes a little streaky. He has like a couple seasons in a row where he's incredible, and he kind of falters a little. Not like bad, don't get me wrong, just like not as insane performance that he spikes back up again. He had something like 4 seasons in a row where he's over 1,000 yards a season. For going to Austin's favorite stat to pay attention to, I think he's a solid 8.
Okay. I'm going to start off by saying he's a 9, and I'm going to say why. I probably have watched more of his games live than any other running back. I used to go to Indianapolis. I was a huge fan of his when he was in San Diego. I was in high school, and he was a crazy college player, breaking all the college records. And then when he got drafted to Indy, Kansas City was always selling out with Martin Schottenheimer. So my dad and I would go to Indy games from St. Louis and watch him play. And he would line up at wide receiver. He'd line up everywhere. And their team was terrible with Jeff George. And he was like the only thing on the team. They were beyond horrible. And when he came to St. Louis, not only was I so happy that he was off of out of a horrible situation, he came to a situation where I would get to see him all the time, in St. Louis. And he did everything. And just because he could be a wide receiver as much as a running back, like, I love Barry, but if I was in the playoffs, I would rather have Marshall Faulk, because there were times where Barry would get 15 yards. And that was because of his offensive line killing him in the backfield, and he'd be scrambling everywhere in the backfield. He just couldn't get but Faulk always found a way, and he was just amazing. So, and it's biased because I watched him so much, even though I'm not a Rams fan either, really, but I'm a Faulk fan. So that's why I gave it to him. So what did the crowd
6
do? They said 6?
God was brutal, man.
Be DQ'd. That's disrespectful.
It was.
It's all right. That's why we got the crowd vote, man. Sometimes the crowd giveth, sometimes the crowd taketh away.
They
6,
do.
man. That's borderline disrespect right there.
47. So, right in the middle. Okay, now this guy, he's on the top 10 of FanDuel. I honestly don't think he deserved it, but he is good. But I put him on there because I thought Skipper would be here, and I know he's Skipper's favorite player. We've got the bus. Jerome Bettis. And who would like to go first on the bus?
He was a beast of a back. I mean, that was another guy where it would take a minimum 5 guys to bring the guy down. He was a beast. However, with the backs in his era, even, I don't think I could put him in maybe the top 8 for the backs in his era. But I mean, he was a good back, but he wasn't, in my opinion, shouldn't even be anywhere near the talk of a top 10. So for that reason, I'll give him a 5.
He left a nasty taste in my mouth when he left St. Louis and went to Pittsburgh, but he was amazing, had a long career. But he just powered the ball, If I think Christian Okoye should be on this list, well, I have to put the bus before him because the bus did more. So I'm going to give the bus a 3.
Wow.
I thought he was scaring us up like he was going to be nicer than me. I mean, I thought a 3.
Well,
Man.
He does. His hand's a stone, and I don't want a big slow running back if I'm building a team.
So the chat's saying 7 was the first one in.
Okay, Bentley, would you like to go?
As he took a big swig.
It was 2005. A hopeful Bentley sat on a couch beside his best friend against some asshole in black and yellow. Isn't really all that talented. Kind of just runs north and south. Looks like a refrigerator. And that son of a bitch cost my team its first Super Bowl.
I was wondering.
Jerome Bettis is not the most physically gifted running back, but he certainly is the one that gives me the most spite. If I go purely off statistics, the biggest problem with him is He's a one-trick pony. He's really
I
good
was
at
gonna
that
use
trick.
that exact term.
He's really good at that trick. He's a giant, hard as hell to tackle man. So that guy would drag 5 goddamn people across the line, and it would infuriate me constantly because I used to see the Steelers all the goddamn time at the first era where the Seahawks started to be good. And with that, I say this. He is a very good running back, but his one-trick pony thing makes me put him on the 5 scale compared to the rest of the greats of all time.
Mm-hmm.
See, I think you're being nice. I just don't think he deserves to be in Camden. But, okay. Jimmy?
Oh, I don't know about that. Jeez.
Yeah, Bentley took the words
He
right
didn't
out
get
of my
injured.
mouth. I was going to say one-trick pony. Exactly. If it's 4th and 3, the bus is your guy. If it's 4th and 28, he's on the bench. And I want a guy that, there's a Marshall Faulk for you, 4th and 28. You don't have to throw it to a wide receiver. You can throw it to Marshall. And, one-trick pony. That's it. He made his mark in the Super Bowl. He was a popular player, had a great nickname, and I'll give him a 5 as well.
Okay, Austin, it's up to you.
All right.
Bring this man home.
I will say that, yes, the man was not a pass catcher, and that's to put it gently. This was still a dude, though. I mean, he may have been a one-trick pony, as we all said, but like I said, he did that one trick pretty damn well. And, it's funny, Ed, when you said 3, I'm like, yeah, is that 3 because that's how many people almost took to take him down every damn play he ran? Because, literally, there's a reason this guy was called the bus. He'd carry multiple people on his back like a damn bus. This guy was, he was a bull. He could run and he had some power. But at the same time, I can't rank him as high as others because when you talk about the other guys like Emmett, Barry, Jim, and some of these other guys, they were more than just runners. So with Jerome, I would love to rate him higher, but I can't do any higher than a 6.
Just to say this. If I was picking a fantasy team, I would never pick him first any year he played.
Oh, but
I
he'd
wouldn't
be a
pick him
goal
first
line
running
game.
back any year he played. He had 3 touchdowns receiving in his career. Oh, well. But that's cool. 28 for the bus. And I was the one who shafted him the
Now,
worst.
I do find it insulting he's got the same score as somebody else that previously, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I like the bus better than that guy. Okay. Here we go.
Back here, guys, but I got to scram here soon.
Okay, well, we're almost done. We've got the great LaDainian Tomlinson.
Ooh. Man.
He was a great dual threat. Let me pop him up, and I'll find out his stats real quick. He averaged 4.5 yards a carry, had 10,650 yards rushing, 3,375 yards receiving. I actually thought he had more receiving yards. But he had 14 receiving touchdowns. He also threw for 7 touchdowns and ran for 115. So, interesting. So, who would like to go first?
I would put LT in the top 4 of his era. I mean, LT was a good running back. He was a game changer. I enjoyed watching the guy play. He was a blast to watch. I would give that guy an 8.
Okay. I'm going to give him, when he was healthy and around good, I'm going to give him an 8. I think he was amazing. And that's all I'm going to say. He was amazing. If you picked him, if you were drafting for about 5 years straight in fantasy football, if you got him on your team, you probably won. So, yep. Okay. Austin, you want to go and then you can leave? Or you can
How many
stick
running
around for
backs
the
we
whole
got after this
thing?
one?
That'll be 10, and then we had 4 that I have as supplementary that
Any
they
of them
didn't have on the
Packers
list.
by chance.
None of them are
Not, then we'll scram.
Packers.
Oh, you're kidding
Yeah.
me. Ahmad Green didn't make your list?
I will say this: Amon Green is good, but I would not put him in the all-time. The dude could score anytime he touched the ball, but he fumbled way too damn much.
So what Packer were you thinking?
The best Packer, I would argue, based off my knowledge, I would say you can make a case for maybe Dorsey Levens. I would say, I can picture his face, but I can't think of it right now. Damn it, I can't think of it. But anyway, LT. I mean, this was a dude. I mean, again, in terms of the Mount Rushmore, if he's not on there, he's the next one in line. Like, this guy could run, he could catch, and honestly, there are times I wonder when the fact that he also played with Phillip Rivers, who is an above-average quarterback, I would say, for sure, and then Antonio Gates, one of the better tight ends to ever play the game. I sometimes sit and wonder how he, on that San Diego offense, never won a Super Bowl or even got to a Super Bowl. Because, I mean, that offense at times, when you look back at it, was loaded. But LT was a big reason why they had that success and such. The dude could run. The dude could pass. I mean, he was another one of those that he could do a little bit of everything that you would envision or want your running back to do. So for LT, I'd give him an 8.
Okie dokie. Or Jimmy, why don't you go first? We always go Bentley before Jimmy. So let's go Jimmy.
Yeah, you're right, Ed. He was a heck of a fantasy player. I had him in a keeper league, and I didn't get rid of him for a while. That's what you mean.
Oh
So,
my God.
yeah. Yeah, he was good. He was he could score on any play. He was a good receiver. He also could pass the ball. I remember some of those games that he threw for touchdowns. And yeah, as far as the an all-time list, I think he deserves to be. The top 10's getting kind of crowded, but he would be really, really close to a top 10 all-time player, only because of his versatility and multiple talents. I would give him a solid 8.
And Chat's first answer was 8 as well.
Whoa, Bentley, it's up to you.
So, LaDainian Tomlinson has the record for touchdowns in a season as a running back at 28.
Yeah.
Which, if you think about it, that's an absurd number.
Yes, it is.
If you look at him statistically, he's a very, very good performer as a multi-threat talent. But compared to some of our other greats, not so good in the playoffs, unfortunately. And in that regard, like, I look at those kind of things, and I look at, you ask, like, why you never won a Super Bowl. Well, one, Phillip Rivers is not very consistent. Yeah. He makes plenty of mistakes. 2, well, for some reason, LT was just not as hot in the playoffs as the consistency in the normal season would show you. So in that regard, I would say he's a 7 for me. He's a close hedge, kind of between 7 and 8, but I have to say 7 if I compare him to some of the other greats. You could be great at fantasy, but that doesn't make your team actually win the goddamn game.
Sure.
Le'Veon Bell's a great example of that.
Okay, well, here's a guy I think he spent his whole career with the Cowboys. But just in case he played for Green Bay, I'm going to throw him out, okay?
All right, shoot.
Tony Dorsett.
I don't know.
Where did he play his whole career as a Cowboy, or did he play anywhere else?
He definitely played the majority of it. I don't remember him as a Packer, but
I hated that guy.
Well, I don't agree. I think Tony Dorsett should have been in this list somewhere. In his era, he at one point had the most rushing yards of all time. Did he not? In his era.
I think, yeah, I think you're right. He also had the longest touchdown at the time, which could only
Let
be
me-
tied.
I can pull up his stats. He's the last guy on the list, so I wasn't really prepared. But he played from 1977 to 1987. He played for the Denver Broncos and the Cowboys.
He played for the
has
Broncos in the
one Super
last
Bowl
year of his
championship.
career.
Wow.
Probably. Oh yeah. Oh, actually, yeah. He played for Denver in 1988. I remember that. I have that card, that football card. He was voted to the Pro Bowl 4 times. He was a first-team All-American Pro once. He has an NFL record of, well, at the time, 99. Oh no, still it. He has a 99-yard run from scrimmage, which is still considered a record, I guess, because nobody's done 100.
Didn't Mon Green have that too?
You can't do 100, Ed.
Well, I know, so it'd be pretty tough. But he has 12,739 yards rushing and 77 career touchdowns with 13 career receiving touchdowns. So he has 90 full touchdowns, and he's been elected to the Hall of Fame. So that's my stats for him. So, Austin, if you want to give us a random quick number, you can. We could just blast through these last 4 quick if you want.
Tony Dorsett, honestly, I'm not very educated on the guy. So, boy. I was kind of hoping someone was going to say something in the chat to help me out there. But, I don't know. I might be high, I might be low, but I say when in doubt, 6 or 7 is usually a good number, so I'll say 6.
Okay.
I'm going to give him an 8.
Apparently, I was low.
I mean, just for his era, he was one of Tony Dorsett made a lot of kids want to run football in football. I mean, everybody wanted to be Tony in his day, you know. So I mean, he was good. He was a class act on and off the field. Great guy. I think he should have been in the top 10. He's one that should have made it.
When I was a kid, there were 3 teams that I hated. The Raiders, Denver, and the Cowboys. And he played for 2 of them. And I'm still giving him a 6. And I'll just go with that. And it's all you, Bentler.
Wow, Ed, that's great.
I think you could attribute some of Dorsett's success similar to how you would Emmitt Smith. He played on a number of fairly good Cowboys teams. But that being said, I don't know that he's like quite the physical talent that some of the other ones were, and that's probably just a product of his era. I think a 7 is a pretty accurate number for Tony Dorsett.
Okay. And Jimmy P.
Yeah, well, like I said, I hated him, and I hated him because he was good, and that ought to tell you something. He's actually, I saw a lot of him on television. He was actually the first running back that I ever saw that literally during a run, you could see him shift gears. And I had never seen anybody do that up until I watched Tony Dorsett play. And I thought that was amazing. And I was a young guy at the time, and I played a lot of soccer. I played high school football, but soccer after. And I actually started practicing that on the soccer field of kind of baiting the opponent into thinking I was running as fast as I could when I really wasn't. And so for that, I thank Tony because it was very helpful in my soccer game. And I'll give him an 8 just because I hated him so much. There.
And baby cat. Oh.
Kitty cat.
Oh, good. I'm still here. Everything turned off, but the new computer doesn't just dump it quick. Okay. And did we get a 7 from Whit?
Yep. 7 from Whip, 7 from
So-
Skull, too.
And Whip says I've never been a young guy. Wow, Whip, I'm going to punch you right in the kneecap. Okay?
Get your kneecaps off.
Don't hit him too hard. You might hurt your wrist.
And I'm waiting for you to get through because there's something that's bothering me. I'm anxious to see if he makes your list because there's something that was done tonight that I still can't believe. So
I'm sure you're probably talking about Thurman Thomas. He played for Buffalo from 1988 to 1999. He played for Miami in 2000. He was a one-time NFL MVP. He was voted to 5 All-Pros, first-team All-American 3 times, 12,074 career rushing, 88 touchdowns. They don't have his receiving yards, and he was a crazy receiving guy. But he was established also into the Hall of Fame. So,
I think
Thurman Thomas.
he was a lot better representative of Buffalo than who we named. And I would give Thurman Thomas an 8. I thought he was a solid guy.
You know what? Okay, I'm giving him a 7 just because LaDainian Tomlinson and Marshall Faulk were very much the same type of player, and I can't give him the same score because he was slightly under them, just slightly. So I'm giving him a 7. Okay. Austin, you want to go since you got to leave soon?
I'm sorry, I was hanging there. My wife was texting me. What? Remind me who we're
We
talking
can
about?
go to the next guy
Thurman
Thurman
Thomas.
Thomas.
for Buffalo.
Oh, God. I'm going to sound horrible here. I've never heard of him.
Oh, my God.
Oh, no.
Oh, lining up with some
Big
statements in
football
chat.
fan, I might have to turn that card
You know what?
I haven't
Either
heard of him.
pick something
Really?
from chat or wait till Bentley gets done talking.
I see. Oh, well, Whip says he's easily forgettable, so that sounds like a good excuse there. So,
He was on that
Oh.
team that lost all those Super Bowls.
Whip has been pretty on
Right.
point, so I guess I'll go with him and say a 7.
Okay.
Well, Whip's been on point for most of them. The exception of Marshall Faulk.
Okay. And Bentley?
5.
Well, that was quick.
Boom.
I think what we just saw is a great example of why I give that rating. When you go to somebody and you're like, is a sports writer questionable now?
Make him
just
a good
goes,
one, yeah.
"Who's this?" I'd even Whip's like, hey, he's kind of forgettable. I think it depends. I think if you were playing in divisions where you saw Thurman Thomas a lot, you'd be like, yeah, no, he was really good. And if you were like any other place in the NFL, you were like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've heard that name. Thurman's kind of weird. Thurman Merman, maybe? I don't
Thurman
know.
would sound like a name that'd be hard to
He was
forget.
great on Super Techno Bowl.
Hey.
You
But
go
he
watch the
wasn't Bo
replays of
Jackson.
the 4 Super Bowls he played in. You will see what he was. He's a lot more to what some of the people on here are saying right now.
Correct.
Just
One
go
of my
watch the
favorite
Super
players.
Bowls, my friends.
Right. That's why I'll give him an 8 as well.
Okay.
And I have heard of him.
And did anybody give a score other than
7 was the one. Well,
Cole
Skull?
gave a 7. Whip gave a.
oh, the 6 was before the 7.
Oh, yeah, 6. Yeah.
Well, I already wrote down 7. Who said 6?
Whip.
Oh, but that 6 got counted on Austin's. So 30.
Shave up.
7. And Thurman
Call off the
Thomas.
dogs.
That doesn't seem right. Did I
He
screw
didn't
this
like
math
that
up?
7. Or she did.
I did mess up that math. 42. Okay.
I got to throw one running back out here
And-
just because of Kenny, and also because he literally was raised in the backyard here of Council Bluffs and was a Packer. I would still argue if he was the best one, but Amon Green. Personally,
Never
You
heard
want to
of him.
submit on Green?
I deserve that. Personally,
Okay.
I give
Okay,
Amon
he
a
was
solid
good.
7, man. He was a force to be reckoned with, and I'm not going to say I'm not glad he's gone and not in our division anymore. So I'll leave it at that. He was a good running back.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did Austin give him?
I haven't said it. I would say here's the thing. Amon Green was a threat to score every time he touched the ball. The dude could run really well. And wasn't too bad in the passing game either, despite Brett Favre, who we all know that some of us have mixed thoughts about. But overall, my only thing was, though, there were a lot of big moments where the man put the ball on the ground. And that is, I don't care what the position is, you cannot do that. And that is something that unfortunately is burnt into my head with him considerably. But he was still a very good back, probably number 1 or 2 in Packers all-time history, which is over 100 years, maybe 3. But either way.
The forgivable thing of the fumbles, though, that you're failing to mention is the guy carried the ball probably average per game a minimum of 25 times, most times 35 to 40 times.
I mean, yeah, he touched the ball a lot, which increases the likelihood of putting it on the ground. But I would still, compared to other guys, I'd give him a high 6, low 7. I'm going to say high 6 because, again, the dude was a threat to score every time he touched it. He also, I think, had like a 99, 98-yard touchdown against, I want to say, Denver maybe, back at some point. And that was pretty sweet. I can't remember what year that was, but I was very like very, very young when that happened.
And he was running in an era where his division foes would have been John Randall and Brian Urlacher.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those guys aren't exactly easy to not fumble against.
Yeah, you better be running for your life.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm gonna give him a high 6, is what I'll say. Compared to the other guys, I definitely can't put him up there in the 8s or anything.
Wow.
Okay.
B&W was the first on this one. He gave him a 4.
He gave him a 4. Yeah.
A
Geez.
4.
Wow.
I mean,
Okay.
I can say he's not as good as like Falk, Brown, Sanders, or I mean those guys. But 4, whew.
Yeah, that's rough. Come on, Ryan.
Okay, well, Kenny, you want to go?
I already did.
He gave him a
Gave him
7.
Oh, what'd you
7.
give him?
A 7.
Wow. Okay, Bentley, did you go?
No, I have not.
Would you like to?
You want to nominate Amon Green, who played the first 2 years of his career for Seattle and was absolute garbage. And you might be like, Bentley, you just said late 90s, early 2000s, Seattle sucked. And you're correct. But Amon Green also played at the same time as one Sean Alexander. And Sean Alexander freight trained Amon Green's stats. Sean Alexander was a similar threat who could, in theory, score at any time until he got his big contract and laid down at the end of every run.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot even remotely close give Amon Green a rating according to some of the greats. When if you look at the era he's playing, you can't even say he's a top 3.
Wow.
3?
Okay. Well,
Wow. Jimmy,
you know what?
We're talking about the greats here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fair, but
that's fair.
And you know of what you speak, Bentley. So, wow. But I didn't know that. So I have to act like I didn't hear Bentley talk just now. I would have given him. See, I remember him being good. You know, I remember the good games he had, and the threat that he was on a Packer team that drove me crazy sometimes. But Amon was, I'd say I guess a 6. I'll go 6.
the thing was though, yeah, he didn't have as long as a career as a lot of other guys though. But that's also the same. I mean, you also can say that same thing about. I mean, God dang that. I'm trying to remember Barry Sanders and Jim Brown. Obviously, they had short shorter careers too. And yeah, they still made a good hell of a deal out of it. I mean,
Yeah.
when you also look at it, I mean, Amon Green played for what, about 7 good years too? Still about 9,000 yards. I mean, it's not Barry Sanders numbers. It's not Jim Brown numbers. It's not Marshall Falk numbers. The list goes on. But I definitely think he's respectable. I'll put it that way. He's not great or awesome, but respectable. Just fumbled a little too much for my liking.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the fumble.
Yeah, and so it comes down on me, and I gave the bus a 3 because I didn't think he deserves to be in the top 10, and I'm gonna be a hoser and say I didn't like his fumbles, and I liked other players at the same time. Like Priest Holmes, I thought was awesome, and I'm not nominating him. I'm gonna go with a 3 also. I'm sorry, Austin.
That's fair.
Wow.
I mean, compared to these other guys, I know he's not up. But
he scored. I think. Let's see.
I just have a hard time being critical, fellas.
Would you even put?
Yeah.
Now, would you even say Priest scored your best running back in Chiefs history, though?
Well, it's hard to say who's the best in history because some teams draft a lot of good players. He was a pickup from Baltimore. I mean, so it's really hard to say who's the best of all-time history.
Because Priest is good,
because,
but I'm also thinking when you're thinking about Kansas City running backs, Larry Johnson also comes to my mind, as does
2
Jamal
years.
Charles.
Larry Johnson played Christian Okoye is up there too. But Larry Johnson was like Jim Brown for 2 years. He averaged over 5 yards a carry. He was a monster crazy person. And it looked like he was going to be the greatest running back of all time. And they gave him a big contract, and the guy sat on his ass and was crap. Literally. He was horrific. Just horrific. So it's really hard to rate who's the best for that. But I don't think any of them belong in this list. So
right. Well, I mean,
even though
the top 10, yeah, no Packers.
And Marcus Allen was also a Chief, and he's there, but I don't think his career with the Chiefs belongs there. Okay, so, but still, a 32 isn't bad. That beats Jerome Bennis and O.J. Simpson.
Hey, we got over the Bronco driver.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to throw that in here real quick, but I got to scram.
Okay.
All right, Austin.
Right, Austin. So what we're going to do is Whip is going to be scoring for Austin from here on out since he likes Whip's picks. Okay. So we've got this one I kind of did for Peplin, even though he's not here. His favorite player of all time, Curtis Martin. Curtis Martin, the running back for New England. Okay, Curtis Martin had played for the Patriots from 1995 to 1997, and then he also did a stint with the Jets from 98 to 2006. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro. He was the rushing leader in 2004. He rushed 14,101 yards career. He had 90 career rushing touchdowns and 10 receiving touchdowns. So Curtis Martin, and is Peplin here? He is here.
Peplin gave him a 10.
All right.
So we'll let Peplin be Austin, and we'll let Whip do what he's been doing. Unless somebody gets ahead of Whip, we've been going first in the chat, is it? So do you want to give Curtis 2 since he was the first to respond, or are we going to let somebody else pick the other one?
We'll let somebody else pick the other one.
Bias.
So more people get to pick.
A bias.
I, on the other hand, do agree that he was a hell of a running back. I don't think he was 10 worthy, but as far as a game changer, Curtis Martin was a game changer. He turned a mediocre Jets team into a playoff team. And I think for that reason alone, he should be an 8. He was a game changer.
Wow. Kenny, you're so nice. Okay. Jimmy. Oh, phew. I thought we lost Jimmy P. He turned into a beta. Jimmy P, what's your opinion on the Curtis Martin?
I would let Bentley go because I think he might be relieving him.
Oh, never mind. Bentley, how do you feel about Curtis Martin?
I certainly am not going to give him a rating like Peplin. That's clearly some pure bias. However, the man did, with the exception of the last 2 years of his career. So 12-year career, 1 year, the very last year he didn't even play because of injury, and that's when he retired. 10 straight years from his rookie season all the way through what made that Jets team good for a while. He ran over 1,000 yards every damn season.
Wow.
Is he potentially as game-breaking as a Jim Brown or a Barry Sanders? Maybe.
But
But
be open for debate for sure.
there's certain things in his career that are quite impressive. Despite playing on teams that were at best at times, he played for the Patriots for a while. Patriots are great. Don't get me wrong. They played for years and years, had good teams. Yeah. Say what you will. But 10 years straight of over 1,000 yards a season, that's consistency.
In an era where they were playing, I believe, Martin, was it 14 or 16? I think it was 16 games.
Yeah, he's 16 games almost every season. I mean, he had a couple seasons where he didn't play the full 16 because of injury. But even in those seasons in the earlier parts of his career, up until the last 2 years with the Jets, he was still running over 1,000 yards.
He was a stud.
Dude was a stud. And I'm not as biased as Peplin. I can't give him the same rating I gave Jim Brown or I gave Barry Sanders.
And
I gave Walter
Whip
Payton.
said 7, Ed.
But
Whip says 7.
I will give the man
Awesome.
a 9. Because if you're that consistent for that long as a running back, a position that is designed to get beat the fuck up,
Yeah.
you're damn good. You are damn good.
Well, I have 2 Jets jerseys. One
Uh-oh.
of them is the great Tom Tupa. I have Tom Tupa and I have Curtis Martin as my other Jets jersey.
You don't have the franchise? Come on, man.
I don't. And I really should get a Geno Smith because if it wasn't for them picking up Geno Smith, we wouldn't have Kelsey on the Chiefs. So that was a blessing too. But I'm going to give them a 7 or him a 7 just because I think I also have his toy, that same starting lineup or McFarlane toy that he likes to show off. I'm pretty sure I own that somewhere in my collection because I've always respected him. So
Jimmy, what's your vote?
Oh, I thought Jimmy voted.
No, I was gone. I'll give him an 8.
Oh,
There you go.
do we have a crowd vote already?
Yeah, I said Whip said 7.
Oh. Okay, I'm sorry. I put it in the wrong spot. That's right. Okay.
But I did like what Bentley said about him. Everything was absolutely true. So yeah, I'm up. Kenny, I'm up Bentley's ass again. That's fine. Go ahead.
Bentley's a pretty smart guy. So.
That's why he keeps laughing and giggling over there. Because
He scored a 49, which is really an impressive score.
yeah, he was a darn good player. Yes, he was.
That puts him above LaDainian Tomlinson and Marshall Faulk. All of a sudden, I'm regretting my 7 because I would rather take both of those 2 guys over him. But hey,
That's
it's
why we
okay.
all have opinions.
That's right.
It is. It is. And so that does it for tonight's running backs.
Oh my God.
All right,
No,
then I'll bring it up. I will say this man had over 14,000 yards rushing. He also had 2,600 yards in receiving. And anybody that would say they would not want AP on their team is just a bitter ass fool. Adrian
He's
Peterson
also-
was another running back that was a class act off the field. Yeah, did he get in trouble because he spanked his kid? Excuse me. In my opinion, looking at the way the world is today, we need more APs getting these kids' asses busted because who knows what we're going to be another 10 years from now. I'm not condoning what he did by any means because I know but he did break a lot of things. He had his major knee injury. And what does he do when he comes back from his major knee injury? Only runs 2,000 plus yards. It almost takes the rushing title for all time, but he missed it by like 3 yards. Why? Because we had an idiot freaking coach who can't figure out his running backs about to break history. I think AP, so you all know, is in my top 3 of all time. He was a guy.
He's also an MVP, and he holds the record for the most rushing yards in one game with 296 yards rushing. Okay, I just wanted to throw those couple stats out to you.
He is one that I feel will be in the Hall of Fame at one point, and I also believe, I truly believe he's a top 3. Now, I ain't putting him before Peyton or Barry, but I definitely put him right behind them. And I'm still giving him a 10 because of the good vibes he gave me while he played for the Vikes. I might be biased. I still think he is a 10 worthy for what he did on the field.
Wait a minute. You might be biased? Might? Really? Might?
Well, okay, I'll go next.
He was good.
When AP was there in fantasy football, you wanted him. He was always amazing. Statistically, he's awesome. He did everything right. I'm going to give him an 8 just because the only people that I put ahead of him is Walter Payton, Jim Brown, and Barry Sanders, which are awesome guys. And I don't give out points lightly. So I'm going to give him an 8 because I think it's just a bummer he hurt his knee because he would have maybe even been better. I mean, he was amazing. And then the whole child thing sucked because he lost a season. That was the 1 year I was able to draft him. I got nothing out of him. So, yeah. Okay, Jimmy.
I'll give him a 9. That's all I need to say.
Nice. That's fair.
He was an amazing player. I really enjoyed listening to the Vikings broadcaster when AP would break loose. Do you remember what he said, Kenny? I think he said something like loose or something.
No, he said, AP is about to break loose.
There you go.
Boom.
Yeah,
AP goes.
Right. He was an exciting player to watch, and I would buy a ticket to watch him. So that's why I gave him a 9.
You know, I probably would too. I would too. Okay, Bentley, it's all up to you.
Here it comes.
You know, I will say it was interesting to have Adrian Peterson play his last season as a Seahawk. It's quite amusing to teach some of our young running backs. The dude in the regular season was a monster. Let's be honest. The fact that you come back from an ACL tear and run 2,097 yards is
unbelievable,
fracking bonkers. But here's my defining moment for Mr. Peterson. He never ran as well as he did in the regular season in the playoffs. If you look at him statistically, he goes down to 3.6 yards per carry on average in the playoffs. So in the most important time to be the all-star, and like he's one of those, much like Barry Sanders, he's one of those definitions of elusive backs where he's very good at slipping tackles. He's extremely fast. He's incredibly fast. Even toward the end of his career, he was still fast, scary fast. But in the clutch, he just wasn't quite as great. And so for that, I can only give him an 8. but I haven't given too many mates. Just keep that in mind.
True.
And I still think if you're looking at top 10, it's easy. Top 5, it becomes a little difficult to not. You basically wiggle between him and maybe one other back at the 5 slot. Dude was amazing. Plain and simple.
What did Whip say for Austin?
Well,
While
we're
we're
going to
waiting
take the
for-
if we take the first 2 people that came in from the chat, Whip came in at 8 and Ryan came in at 9.
Okay. 8 and 9. So that's
Bentley,
14.
I
Four.
think you have been very fair with your analysis here. I am impressed.
Thank you.
I mean that. I thought we were going to see a lot more prisoner of the moment stuff here, but you guys are actually being very fair.
No,
You
I
know,
didn't
as-
add this right.
As the senior member of the group. And don't get me
I was
wrong,
adding the last scores in.
I love watching the players today as well. Total different rules, yes, but they're all playing with the same. So talent is talent.
You
Now,
scored
I
a
am going to say
45.
somebody, Ed, that didn't make the list too that I think should have, and that is Marshawn Lynch. I should have hit that list somewhere.
Respect.
I mean, if we're talking about
Well, that's
Jerome Bettis, for Christ's sakes, Marshawn Lynch should be on that
well,
list.
you got that right, Kenny. You sure do.
Well, I totally agree. The lists, unfortunately, there's no true unbiased list. Every list is biased, and they were both very different.
He was
And I took
amazing in Buffalo. I mean, that, and we don't even want to. He was off the charts in Seattle. The guy should have been on the list. But
man
like
literally
Sean,
caused an
like
earthquake.
Sean Alexander, I don't know what it is. Just like fish events, everybody forgets about the Pacific Northwest for some reason. I mean, those 2 running backs right there, it's a shame that neither of them made this list because Sean Alexander was an absolute beast in his day, too.
So as a Seattle fan, I will say that I would much rather have Marshawn Lynch than Sean Alexander. And the thing that I will say is that Sean Alexander had the fortune to be behind 2 of the greatest left side blockers in NFL history. I mean, he had a Hall of Famer who, in the course of his 14-year career, committed 8 penalties. That's it.
Wow.
8
Yeah.
as a left tackle. And his guard for most of that time was Steve Hutchinson, who's also a Hall of Famer. He basically could just run left all day long. And he had 2 of the best run blockers in NFL history there as a tandem. So I think Sean Alexander gets a lot of his statistical advantage over Lynch's numbers from that, where there are several years where we know that Seattle's line was like a wet paper bag. And you could watch runs where Lynch is like, that's nice. I'm going to hit a motherfucker in the mouth and keep running.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Literally. Yeah.
Guaranteed Lynch would have his ring if there wasn't a dummy coach that chose to throw a pass in the Super Bowl against the Pats.
Oh, he'd have been the MVP of that Super
I would
Bowl.
have ran Lynch 4 times in the goal line, and I promise you, in those 4 times, he would have scored.
Of course he would have.
I would say the player that interests me the most of how that to watch from now through the end of his career is going to be Henry. Derrick Henry is something crazy special that we haven't seen physically since someone like Okoye, right? These just big, monstrously powerful backs. And he has that like Jim Brown just brute capability to run people over. I mean, there's that hysterical highlight where he throws Josh Norman like a rag doll with one arm. You know, I mean, he's
I
one of those
love that.
guys where,
But
as an
another
active
one,
player, I'm very curious to see how his career, if it continues or if it starts to tail off really hard, just because of
another
the
name
amount
that
of
wasn't
punishment he
mentioned
takes.
tonight, Bentley, when you're saying brute strength as far as a running back, Earl Campbell.
Campbell's a good one. I mean, it's just like, you know, Chat mentioned this, and this is somebody that I have a lot of respect for. It's somebody I've watched a lot of film. Is Gale Sayers,
Yeah,
right? Because Gale Sayers is very much the prototype of what became Barry Sanders, of what becomes someone like Adrian Peterson. But unfortunately, like Peyton, his career was cut very, very short. You know,
But keep in mind, guys, this would have been a tough list for anybody to put together. It's 50
it's a nightmare.
years, 50 years of NFL history plus, 50 plus years. And I mean, I'm sure there's people that would throw more names at it, so we could probably go till 2 a.m. on it. But
Yeah,
Ed,
there,
I'll give you a 3 for the list, okay?
ooh,
so okay,
Fine.
we
I'm
discussed this. We discussed this. I'm very curious if there's any argument, like if we're doing our Rushmore, right? I think we're all universal that it's Peyton, Sanders, Jim Brown. But the question is, are we universal on who slot 4 is, or is there argument
Right.
there?
AP all day.
So-
all day.
well,
I love you, Kenny. I respect your love for AP.
We could put a little
See, I
little
think-
head off to the side there.
A little bonus one.
I have to tell you
Emmett
guys,
Smith
I was
scored a
this
50.
close to changing teams when they let him go.
So-
that close.
Emmett's the 4th guy by our rankings. He got a 50. The next,
Which, in my personal rankings, Emmett is my 4th, if you're talking Rushmore.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
next.
interesting.
I rated. I'm sorry, Peplin, but I rated your guy too high, and I think we all love Peplin, and we scored him too high because we're saying that Peplin's Curtis Martin is the 6th best running back in the history of football with a 49, one behind Emmitt Smith.
What did AP score?
45.
That's bullshit.
Oh God!
Bullshit. I call
Well,
bullshit.
AP only
I'm
was
sorry.
beat by Marshall Falk and LaDainian Tomlinson
Wow,
after Curtis Martin.
man.
So you mean to tell me it's 4th down and 1? You're going to rather have LaDainian Thomason than AP with the ball on 4th down and 1?
I want to do.
No,
this
I'd want Marshawn
match
Lynch.
again.
That's who I would.
Feed the beast.
I mean, God, I'm surprised they didn't burn down the town with that call in the Super Bowl.
You're making fun of it. They probably damn near did, Jimmy.
Oh, I wasn't making a joke. Wow, that was insane. I don't even want to talk about it. And you know, I was just
Seattle
even have-
fans are some of the rudest, crudest animals you'll ever meet.
I didn't have a dog in the fight.
You do not want to be in another team's jersey that just beat that team and think you're going to make it to your car.
I see.
I was at a preseason game with my Vikings and we beat them, and we almost didn't make to the car on a preseason game.
Well,
So just
I'm a
saying.
fan, but I'm not crazy.
Yeah, so that's the argument is with our group right now is AP is being protested to be over Emmett. But I think the rest of us all agree that Emmett should be above AP. I gave AP and Emmett both an 8. I like AP. But yeah, he just didn't pull down those big numbers. Sorry, Kenny.
Big numbers. What are you talking about? How many 2,000
Well, the big
yards
numbers
how many 2,000 yard games or seasons did Emmett have? And what was Emmett's best single game ever? So I have a lot of reason to say he's definitely should be talked about in the top 3.
No, I mean numbers by us voting.
I get what you're saying, but in my opinion, prove me wrong. I mean, and you guys want to talk about the awesome line that Emmett ran behind. AP didn't have that luxury.
Yeah, that's true.
Do we
the stars were aligned for AP. I mean for Emmett.
You put let's put it like
But
this. You put AP
Emmett Smith
behind that line, which I was hoping when it was going south with Minnesota to prove the point. I was really hoping, because Jerry's always crazy with his money, that he would, because he's a Texas boy. I think that would have been the polished off for, probably would have made him one of the greatest running backs ever. But
I think the difference is 6,000 yards and about 60 touchdowns to Emmett.
How many yards did Emmett have?
18,355 rushing, 3,224 receiving to AP's 12,276 rushing. I don't have his passing yards.
You're not accurate. AP was over 14. AP was over 14.
AP has 14,918 rushing yards and 2,474 receiving yards.
So I don't know. You might be looking at his all-time Viking numbers, maybe.
He has 120 touchdowns rushing.
They have him ranked 14th overall on whatever one that
touchdowns receiving.
14th. Wow. That's brutal. But hey, that's why we have opinions, guys. That's why we have opinions.
Yeah. And if I was drafting a fantasy team, I would take AP over Emmett. But oh well.
Oh well.
Well, guys, thank you so much, everybody, for coming out and hanging out with us and finding out how we feel.
We've been over 2 hours, guys. We're out of here. AP's on the shit list. See ya. Thanks, guys, for coming out. It was fun as always.
Thank you.
Night all. We'll see you next Friday.
Cheers.